Welcome back, one and all, to the Amazon EU Masters. Game number 3 is only just a couple minutes away. I'm still Ushi, and I'm still joined by the fantastic Mr. Jamada. We're going to be talking about an incredibly important match now coming up here. Dusty versus Game Ward. Dusty need to win in order to keep fighting for that top spot. But if Game Ward win, they lock it up. They get themselves that first seed out of Group D.
Yep, exactly. So very important game for Dusty to keep their dreams of a first seed in Hope alive. And let's be honest, the first seeds in the other groups right now that are 3-0 look terrifying. You don't want to be second seed going into knockouts. No. You would much prefer to be the first. And hell, even being first doesn't really give you a free pass. It just means, you know, you're not against the likes of potentially unicorns. BDSA look terrifying. X7 as well, looking pretty damn good. I think Game Ward as well, having seen their NFL brethren slain by X7, would maybe want to try and dodge that group as well. Anyway, we're into draft as we approach, again, a very important game. And I think Game Ward, watching that previous game, just say, you know what? No Yasuo Diana. We don't want to see that. Ban that off the table. A lot of focus towards Backlund, and Dusty a little more, you know, sort of spread, but definitely shutting down those enchanters straight away from the bottom side of the map, which will leave up these AD carries at the very least, but now a little less power added onto those picks.
Not only that, but you're banning with the Yumi, you'd also maybe see the Lulu kind of rise up in priority as something that Game Ward could take on 1-2. They could maybe go for that something there. But Dusty looking like they want to go back to an old favorite. I don't think DenVoksne needs to go back to the Aphelios right now, but the Diana kills can still work exceptionally well if they wanted to run something like a Renekton on the top side. But no, lock in the Ahri, get something that can put Czekolad under pressure, because again, Czekolad in that first game against Matchgo Esports was a very powerful force of nature to deal with, because he just got himself on so many flanks.
Yeah, and I will say, I like this whole up from Melonik. Shout out to the Kerberos Nasus, of course. We'll see what the response is, though, into this Ahri, right? Plenty of counter picks. I'm going to hold on until I see what gets locked. Saw the Veigar. Time was ticking. It's a very old classic one, but it looks like we're going to get the Swain here at the very least. And now, options for AD carry, like you said, also, the support pool kind of pinched. Do you want an enchanter now? Do you really want to show that card so early? I think going towards something like the Sivir when you already have such a big team fighting presence like Swain would probably make the most sense right now, but also you protect yourself from the charm of the spell shield. I think everything just kind of lines up for it as a blind. DenVoksne doesn't often go towards lane dominant picks. He's very capable of doing it, but Dusty as a whole would see this and they're more likely to respond with something like the Zeri, something like the Aphelios, and just go handshake the scaling.
Yeah, you get the Zeri and the Lulu here. Could be very good here for Dusty to try and deny that away from the Sivir. Very difficult to deal with a Lulu Sivir in lane. They have so many like long-range poke abilities that just kind of whittle you away, stop you from getting on top of the Sivir during those first kind of early, I suppose, difficult levels for the Sivir. She doesn't have as much in it, but now the Aphelios locked in here, so we'll see what they want to go for. Again, you think of the Aphelios, you think of a Gale Force again, being aggressive, being a bit more in the agency of things, so I would love a hard engage support.
Yeah, the other thing I'm wondering is, will they actually go, like you say, you call out, will they go towards the Nautilus? Because I think if they go down that route of having the Lulu, then all of a sudden you give Game Ward that pick and...
Don't do
it's
it.
a hover, right? It's okay. You know, all right. You know, I respect it.
I'm not a fan.
Listen, I'm not a fan either, but I can still respect the cojones, all right? Look, I think Game Ward throwing up the Fiora hover, but it's also a very valid response, to be fair. I think it's definitely a skill matchup, no matter how you look at it. That would be evil, but I think giving the option realistically to just pick up that Lulu, like you said, right? It's kind of a pick your poisons kind of scenario. I think Dusty just say, you know what, if we get the support pool entirely, Stend has a deep enough champion pool that we feel like you can't ban out all of the options that we have available to us. And now Dusty will have the option to ban away some of these meaner counter picks to this Darius. You could see something like the Renekton banned away. Maybe they got a little bit worried about the Fiora matchup. Maybe they just say, you know what, if we're playing another hard CC champion in the jungle, we want that one gone away just so it can't get locked in. Game Ward should be looking at their top laner in that R4, so I think you always want to try and pinch this one down. Game Ward, however, removing away those engage options like we kind of mentioned, take away the Nautilus, that's the first step. Probably, I think the next best thing would maybe be a Rel ban. I think you actually take that one away from Stend. I feel like his other picks like the Leona haven't necessarily been as impressive. Still very potent, but I think the Rel maybe stands as more risk if you are this game ward side.
We'll see what they want to go for here. The Amumu's still obviously available, can give very good kind of setup. Another banner with the Graves there, so they're trying to put some respect onto the jungle picks right now. And they will have first pick of jungle once they come out of this one here. So with the Vibe ban, the Graves ban, I would like to see maybe the Fiora banned away, just again, because like, I'll be totally honest, I think Kerberos just looked routed by it, even with the combination of the Poppy, which is still on the board. So I think you got to get rid of one of those kind of combinations to make sure you can get something there. But no, they're going to go for the Wukong instead.
All right, Wukong Vi just looking to sort of stop these disruption diving jungles. I think when you've already got such strong team fight set up front to back with the Swain, Sivir, and the Lulu, making sure you try and move away some of these engage tools is really important. I think Game Ward's ability to go something like Ornn in the top side is really stymied by the Darius lock-in as well. So I think we're going to see the jungle come out, or a ranged kind of, you know, bully-esque champion. There you go, like Kennen, like that. Now still have themselves set up for front-to-back team fighting, a lot of bulky frontline presence, and if Akabane wants to, has the option to go towards a carry, which is not something we often get to see from junglers, but we'll actually probably get a better understanding of what his role wants to be once we see Dusty's final rotation here. Plenty of options still available. AD junglers, someone like Zhao, Jarvan, also up and available if you want to try and get locked down on the Sivir. Rakan, obviously, I think this pick is just super potent when you have such a short range composition that wants to work off of pick. And I'll always be happy to see Stend piling that one. Now it's all about what Lyncas wants to play.
And as well as that, with the Rakan as well, you think of the Sivir, yes, very good at just blocking one spell ability, but you got multiple different things that can be different there. The Gravitum gun coming out from the Aphelios, of course, the Apprehend, the Charm, now the knock up here from the Battle Dance on the side of Dusty, but they go for the Taliyah. That indicates to me that's a Taliyah jungle now here for Lyncas. Yeah,
so Lyncas is actually one of the few rare Taliyah players these days, and this, if this gets locked in 1-to-1, this matchup stinks, and I'll dive into it a little bit more if the Olaf goes through here for Game Ward, because I'll tell you, I've played both sides of this matchup. It's not the best. You kind of just Ragnarok through all of the CC once you're level 6 and get run down as Taliyah. Zhao kind of operates functionally the same, but with different tools, but a little more about the early aggression towards the lanes. Lyncas, though, one of the few Taliyah junglers it feels like these days. Taliyah more or less played in the mid lane, unless your name is match code, then it goes into your AD carry's hands. I like what both these compositions have put together, though. Both these teams have put together in terms of compositions, rather. Game Ward, it's all about systematic front-to-back team fighting, right? You've got your 3 bulky frontliners, you've got your Sivir frontline for frontline damage, rather. You've got the Swain to provide a bunch of space, and you're always going to be happy to approach even at flanks, depending on how Melonik actually approaches the team fights. Whereas for Dusty, again, it's more about, you know, picks and sort of shotgun-esque kind of compositions where you go forward, you try and find your CC onto the key targets, and then you look for whatever then looks the best. Carry on the fight, yes, no, disengage. It's as simple as that. That's how Dusty like to play, and that's the kind of composition they've given themselves yet again.
Yeah, well, Dusty, going back to the Darius, didn't look exceptionally great at all, to be perfectly honest, in game number 1 of today for them. So they gotta see if they can maybe rewrite that, having a bad game. Maybe this is the bad game to the good game. You know, you get one off of each other one. But Game Ward have got themselves a very straightforward setup for themselves. They know how they want to try and play these fights. They know how they want to try and work it. It's going to come down to execution. So, fight for first. Dusty and Game Ward both locked into the Amazon EU Masters quarterfinals. This is all about who's able to get that first seed, that all-important first seed, and give themselves as much of an advantage going into that first round of playoffs.
Exactly. First seed's so important when it comes to those quarterfinal knockout stages. Again, you don't want to go against the first seed of any other group. They are often just so much more powerful, so much more threatening. I think for Dusty, it wouldn't be a death sentence at all in the slightest, but many of these players haven't really gone that distance before. They don't have that kind of experience, internationally at the very least. And it would be a pretty big shake-up, pretty big wake-up call. They're right here. It's not been smooth in the group stages, but perhaps much happier than, you know, NLC representatives, I feel like, in general, more the talent I'm pertaining to, but normally quite nihilistic, pessimistic when it comes to
I was going to say nihilistic, that's a bit
nihilistic is pretty deep, yeah. Pessimistic is probably the correct word, where it's more like, hey, we only really have one team that ever does well. Right now we have 2, and it feels pretty good, and Dusty, I think, would really benefit going up against the second seed, so super important game. And for Game Ward, I think they care a little bit less, but still, you always want any advantage you can get. The questions to me still lie after what was an undoubtedly very shaky game number 1. How exactly are they going to do it to Dusty, who at the very least looked a little more clinical across the board?
This is the big thing as well, like with the seedings the way they are right now, Game Ward obviously got in the first. They would be able to avoid Team BDS Academy. They wouldn't, however, be avoiding Vitality B or LDLCs. They'd have a 33% chance of getting a non-French team, but not the greatest of odds, really, when you're looking at it like that, as we can see that the power of this Lulu and Sivir, talked about a little bit in draft, so much harassment, so many ways just kind of pushing you back, and this is just kind of part and parcel. Yes, the Aphelios is nice and will become that absolute team fight monster later on in the game, but the Sivir is not too shabby yourself. It's why we've seen so many teams move away from the Aphelios, because it feels like the Sivir does a better time of it in those late game team fights. So we'll see where it ends up going in that bot side. Good never move here from Czekolad onto Backlund, or Backlund, excuse me, as they do end up trying to trading it all back. And this is kind of just what we're going to see from the solo lanes for the next while. Just trading of, you know, kind of CCs, making sure they're getting the waves pushed in their favor until the junglers do end up intervening.
Yeah, exactly. I actually quite like your point, the comparison between Sivir and Aphelios, right? I think Sivir more don't worry, this is no one saw it.
That Scuttle is being played by FLICKR. That's what's happening right here.
It's being piloted from FLICKR in Seoul right now. I wonder what Skull's abilities would be. I feel like E would have to be the fast dash. Hello. Cheeky face check.
Looking to see if they can maybe get a bit of a trade back here. I like this coming out here from Game Ward, kind of recognizing they have a sweeper, making sure they can get some damage down and move themselves forward. But yeah, I'm trying to think about what their abilities were.
Yeah.
I think the passive would be the armor shield, definitely.
Yeah, sure. Whilst
and
out of combat, it's Malphite passive.
Maybe his R is when there's honey fruit somewhere, he can do something. But it's not myself, as we're going to see a little bit of a bait coming out here. Ghosts have been popped by both AD carries. No wind becomes lightning, but a double gravitum. He's a Game Award. They're going to come out a little bit worse for wear in this trade. They try to force it in the bot side with Akabane, but not really to be done just yet. And now, with the Taliyah here, you have to be careful of flash size, which could be on the cards, but they're not quite in position to get that gravitum to lock down. So the wave's too big. They don't want to risk it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that came into play there. The wave being a little bit too large to walk past. And not only that, if they walk past it and then it goes on to crash, if the play goes awry, then all of a sudden you're missing out on the wave and also having a bad play at the same time. No need to overforce. Nice discipline from Dusty, though. They definitely could have looked to have found some kind of play there. Just make the better of it. As nice never move from Czekolad. Backlund will just go back to base. Has teleport, of course. Actually, I think both these mid laners could potentially look to go for a base. Czekolad looked like he was going to hold it for a freeze. Kerberos, however, with all his priority, I imagine. Oh, this is really cheeky. If he was going to go for a mid lane roam, it looks like the answer is no. He's just going to get some information down.
Gets the
see
perfect
that the Raptors are up,
yeah.
And you'll see that Akabane is on the top side, so now bottom side of the map can play appropriately. You know, hey, 30, 40 seconds, jungler will be on the bottom side of the map. Don't do anything too sketchy. Really nice from Kerberos, using his top side priority to get some information for Dusty.
We got to think about where this game is going right now, just to give you an idea of what's on the line right now. If Dusty wins, we have 4 potential tiebreaker situations, 4 not tiebreakers, so it's a straight up 50-50. If Game Award wins, there is no tiebreakers. So we will have our 6 games of the day, nothing more, nothing less. And again, it's all down to Dusty, whether or not they want to try and force this. They still have to play Matchco later on today, so it's not a foregone conclusion. Of course, Schalke play Game Award as well, but it is one of those matchups where you would imagine that the top 2 teams are better than the bottom 2. But again, we could have seen Matchco earlier. It could have been a different story, so it's always hard to tell.
Hey man, I'm going to be honest, given how Schalke, you know, they had their moments of pretty strong looking aggression, and Matchco doing a really good job of just being so tenacious, not dropping super quick. Would have put it past them to cause an upset here. Stend. Dash away. The Dragon's been started up by Game Ward, so Dusty don't want to let this one go down for free, and you can see the Dragon's so much tankier than it used to be. It's not as easy to burst these ones down super early. Lyncas is going to look to secure Scuttle Crab.
This is risky.
It is so risky.
You've got a Innaxe on Sivir over the top side. You didn't get the Scuttle either. So yeah, they don't have priority. They don't have really got the ultimates to kind of contest that. So got to be very, very careful. Phase rush procs on the top side. Backlund.
They still want to fight.
Roaming down. The never move not hitting, but they do get the Spirit Rush out of them. They're not quite able to steal it, but can they get the fight? No, they cannot, because the Taliyah is forced to flash away. Dusty taking a fight they really didn't need to go for. They really don't want to lose this flash, but they have to, because otherwise he was going to be caught up there in the Visions of Empire, and that's going to be, honestly, just really sloppy mistake from Dusty. No real need for them to go for that contest when they didn't have priority.
Yep, just straight up greed, over-eagerness to want to contest it, right? Simple as that, and they lose. 2 flashes for that Lyncas. DenVoksne now super vulnerable targets if they ever get that gap closed onto them by Akabane. And let's see whether that comes to bite them in the behind in the next 5 minutes or so. So that was definitely an objective you could happily give over, to be honest with you. It's not the end of the world losing that first dragon. At the end of the day, it's a Sivir lane on the bottom side. Sivir kind of just gets auto-shoved in so many lanes. Game will just recognize that, pick up the dragon, go towards it. And Dusty just too happy to bite.
Come back in. Melonik now with the extra buy, having a little bit of a better time right now. Actually, with Swifties, very, very curious about that particular matchup. So not worried about a CC stopping him from getting off of Gnar, not worried about getting, you know, auto attack down, just wants to try and be in position as fast as he possibly can. And look, I'm not saying the man's having a fun time in the top sides from the last game, but he's definitely not adverse to getting a little bit different with the builds.
Yeah, what I will say in terms of the Swifties is they do have the highest base movement speed given. And I think if you're talking about trying to, you know, keep the distance between you and Darius as high as possible, that's a solo kill.
Yep, straight up flash for flash, but Czekolad gets the auto attack off. So nicely done there by the mid laner of Game Ward.
Really good stuff from Czekolad. I'm really curious to see how that actually ended up occurring, because Ahri is not really the kind of champion that you should be seeing get solo killed. Spellbook Ignite comes out. Perhaps just a little bit of disrespect on that, and flash also too late. Replay, let's see how it kicks off. So the reset's coming through, but there's no teleport on Backlund, and Kamilius shoves in the wave with Czekolad, and I guess he just gets clipped by a never move as soon as Czekolad walks up. Yeah, see, this is the awkward thing about that kind of wall right next to the tower is as soon as Czekolad puts that W down, you're pretty much guaranteed to get hit by the never move, or you just have to flash. So really, really nice from Czekolad. And Backlund just, I guess, didn't want to miss that wave. Simple as that. Punished for it. Good stuff.
Yeah, well, didn't want to miss the wave. Now he gives over a kill, so more gold, and loses the wave anyway. So there's a lesson to be learned here. It's that if you're going to die, you might as well just not die. If you're going to miss the wave anyway, you might as well just not die for it. So unfortunate to see there here for Dusty, but they're kind of seeing Game Ward now picking up a little bit of a gold lead here. And again, the LFL just so powerful, especially with these teams, that when they're able to get comfortable, when they're able to dictate the direction and the pace of the game, they just know how to play it out so well. And Game Ward, apart from the game one of today, have been very good at just keeping themselves level-headed and not getting too overzealous even with an advantage.
Yep, exactly. Pick out the neutrals very silently. Again, Game Ward, not always the most early proactive team in terms of looking for skirmishes, looking for these crazy big advantages. They are, you know, very strategic with how they approach a lot of these plays. Speaking with Middlecott, one of the English representatives from the LFL, basically kind of summarized it as a team that will just avoid interaction at all costs in the early game at times. Does occasionally come to bite them in the backside, but it's a very, you know, low risk, high reward style of gameplay, and it's working right now into Dusty, who honestly have very limited options in terms of where they can play towards in the early game. Mid lane, Czekolad's winning this 1v1. Innaxe and kamilius always have this bottom side priority, and in the top side, Melonik's picked you know, a neutralizing lane. And you can see whenever Game Ward wants the bottom side priority, they can get it through the Sivir. Massive wave was about to stack up. Innaxe says, no, I'm going to ricochet it. And potentially thinking about dropping the Herald down here doesn't end up happening. You can see just moving around, there's a bit of a death squad here, looking to see where they can put this Herald down. Could be the mid lane.
I'm still thinking about it. 30 seconds till the next dragon spawns, so put Game Ward onto their second of the game. Good vision, though, on the side of Dusty. Does mean they see them going in between the top to bot, or sorry, mid to bot, but they haven't respected it just 100% yet. The Visions of Empire will not land, so they won't be able to kind of follow up on that one here. And this is the issue, I suppose, that Dusty are going to have. Your engage is Stend. It is the Rakan and nobody else. Everyone else is going to be picking people off. You'll have plenty of damage when someone does get CC'd, but it's going to come down to this Rakan with the quickness, with the, you know, the knockups to be able to make something work. They're going to drop down and slam the Rift Herald here into this mid lane. It's pretty standard when you don't really have a chance to take anything else, but now they're going to get the Crescent Guard, but the Flickback's already good. They're good. Wild growth means that you've got DenVoksne kind of on his own right now. Flashes away, and here comes Innaxe. Oh, he fails the flash over the wall, which means he cannot follow over. The never move does not land. Nobody dies, but Game Ward should still be able to take their second trade.
Cheeky move as well. Innaxe knows. Yeah, made a bit of a boo-boo there. Trying to make it over the wall. GG. I agree, Innaxe. Dragon, however, should go over to Game Ward. And like you say, DenVoksne left in a very awkward spot after that initial engage. Really nice ultimate from Akabane to try and deny away as much damage as he could. But unfortunately, the reality was everybody was inside the Thunderdome. However, everyone was stuck inside him with it. He wasn't going down. We're able to force out Dusty, pick up the second dragon. We're not getting our third Cloud Soul of the day.
Sad.
Back to back. I'm pretty sad.
I mean, a 66% chance off of 5 dragons. You got it. Well, 66% of the time, you got it off of 5 potential dragons. I'll take those. I'll take that.
Yeah, you know, I can be happy with that. And at the end of the day, it seems like Lightning will be following Cloud. So, to be fair,
that's generally how it works.
That is generally how it works. I know.
Yeah.
I'm
can have lightnings without. Can you have lightning without clouds?
I think it's possible.
Is it technically possible, Jamada?
No, I think I've seen it. Like on like, you know, those like weather watching
Google it.
channels and stuff. Gotta go do some research real quick.
I'm gonna do some research real quick.
But yeah, Hextech, of course, you actually made a really good point earlier on. Hextech, it technically scales the weakest because it gives you flat stats comparatively to the rest of the dragons. But on takedown, they are definitely in the early game some of the strongest dragons, and of course the soul, so powerful. Those chain slows can be so damn oppressive. And when you think about, you know, this Game Ward lineup, Sivir having, you know, a static Shiv slow, or even Czekolad with the Rylai's already, he's going to be so hard to get rid of. He's going to stick onto you so easily. Having that additional bit of occasional spark damage is going to be massive.
Speaking of spark damage, I have the answer. Lightning is an electrical discharge that's caused by imbalances between storm clouds and the ground. So you need clouds.
You need clouds.
Yeah, it's part of the equation.
There you go.
See, not only are you watching it, League of Legends here today, you're getting educated, you know?
So does that mean any time that we see a Hex Rift, if there's not Cloud Dragon in the first 2, it's just wrong?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't want to put it. I was going to have a theory, but there's a couple of Arcane spoilers in there, so you know what? We're just going to leave it. I know it's been out for a while, but still, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. I heckin' love Arcane.
I heckin' love Arcane. Are there any Arcane champs in this game? There aren't. That's kind of sad.
No. Not that we know of yet.
True.
No?
I think Season 2's been in development for a very long time now as well.
Yeah.
They announced quite a while back.
I think they know what they're doing and who they're going to bring in, you know?
You know, because we got a bit of engage.
Oh,
I don't want to tangent too long, you know, because
keep going. They're not doing anything.
But yeah. So, do you reckon we get Darius? Because you know we had the lady from Noxus, right?
Yeah, we do have Melina and her Noxus ancestry. I personally would love Noxus to come into it because I am quite a fan of Noxus. Because if you don't, I'm a lore buff. If you don't know the lore of Noxus, so Mordekaiser basically was the greatest warrior of all time. He was so great that he refused to die. That's why he's now Mordekaiser. You get brought to the Death Realm to challenge him. That's his whole lore of his ultimate. And the actual main bastion in Noxus is basically he built that himself to kind of say to be the strongest warriors can come challenge me, and that's how Noxus became its kind of power. It's all about power. There you go. So maybe very
cool, actually. You know, I was deciding whether to be like nerd. Oh, actually, but like that was really cool. Okay, now
Thank you. I'm a lore buff. I love lore. Lore's amazing, and the League of Legends lore, despite it being kind of choppy for a while there, it's getting there. It's getting back to something that works. Something else that might work is Dusty finally used the Reaper's Wall, but a hop, skip, and a jump means the Melonik should be able to get away. He does lose his flash, so a nice proactive move, and the first one we've seen pretty much all game from Dusty.
Huh. All right, well, gets jumped away from, and the tower in the mid lane will fall. So the play kind of thrown back in Dusty's face. Either way, I suppose that mid lane tower was pretty low. It's always going to end up dropping. Right now, Game Ward just keeping Dusty at arm's length, right? The pace of the game really slow. And again, with the limited engage tools that Dusty have, it's going to be really hard for them to actually make plays. And not only that, they don't really have lane priority very frequently, or they won't rather, through the mid lane. At the very least, Innaxe should always have the shove there. So my question will be, how will they actually find an in? Because at this pace, Game Ward can just kind of, you know, it's like when you see the pictures of a really tall person against a really small person, and they just put their hand on their head and they try to swing at them. That is going to be this game. However, if Dusty can do things like this, sneak into the river first, when they shouldn't really have mid lane priority, but they manage to get it off the back timer of Innaxe, then maybe they have a little more say. They can control the chokes, ensure that, you know, Game Ward don't have such an easy time making it in here. And this is maybe the best timer they'll get for a little while. You can see Melonik out of Gnar. They're in the river first. And I think Game Ward just make the correct read. Give this one up. Pick up this tower in trade. Just pick up some more waves. Maybe go towards the top side. Maybe even get two because of the full commitment from Dusty here.
I mean, Game Ward are very aware of this. The guy's like, cool, we don't have to contest this. So we're going to give over that dragon. It's only your first of the game. We're going to get 2 towers off it. That's a huge influx of gold now going over to Melonik and even a little bit over to Innaxe. So very, you know, kind of good, smart heads-up play coming out here from the LFL representatives. And we're actually going to see Ghost being popped here from Czekolad. I believe he had to use it because he wanted to try and get back into his regular summoner spells after using it with the... Yeah, he wants the teleport available to himself. But just very quickly before we move on from absolutely anything else, remember we were talking about you need a cloud in order to have lightning. You also need the ground. Look what 2 dragons Game Ward have. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to move on from there. We're moving on from there. Imagine that was actually the formula.
Anytime I see mountain, I don't see mountain plus cloud, and we have a Hex Soul, I'm gonna be angry. Yeah. I have upset future Jamada. That's what I've done here. Yeah, it's the OCD. Like now that I know this critical bit of information, it's gonna be really hard to ignore. Kerberos, however, might find it hard to ignore this 4-man. Yeah, he's gonna flash, he's gonna ghost, he's pretty damn fast. He didn't ignore them, but he just chose to walk away. And at the moment, that's just going to be good enough. You did lose not a lot, to be perfectly honest, from the side of Game Ward. You gained both summoners off of Kerberos. And this is kind of what we're seeing now with the game being so slow paced, with Game Ward having that extra little bit of gold in their back pocket. They're hitting spikes earlier. It's a full Phantom Dancer at the moment ahead of DenVoksne. So they're saying, look, we can take fights. We can just overload sides of the map and force Dusty into a bad situation. Yeah, right now, until DenVoksne bases, which looks to be the case, be behind the FLICKR. Stend going to be forced to flash, and again, this is just really nice from Game Ward. They're just going top to bot, looking for more opportunities. Melonik, though, with the Gnar, I think. I was going to say, DenVoksne, I don't think you want this. He's going to force the flash away. The charm comes out to stop the Gnar from getting in on top of this one here. Someone still go for it, but they're just overloading them right now. Game Ward just saying, we're stronger, and there's nothing you can do about it. We're done with this slow pace of game. Yeah, they just run him over. DenVoksne loses flash, loses ghost, uses his ultimate. Just can't get away from Akabane ultimate. I was going to say from Sivir, probably helped him out, but that was on cooldown from the bottom side play. Actually just sticking power of the Zhao as Stend just looking for deep vision. Gets clipped. Visions of Empire forces the flash out, and then you can see the immediate sort of thought process is kill the Gnar. But then he goes into Mega, and the ultimate from Stend is effectively wasted. He has to dash backwards, and even though the charm is great to stop the Gnar, you can see Lyncas actually focuses on trying to chain CC the Gnar, maybe look for a kill potentially. He would have been too tanky to go down to that. Doesn't end up trying to peel the Zhao off of Aphelios over the wall, and he drops. Yeah, we're going to see again, Game Ward just gaining control of the area. They have still got 2 dragons to their name, and they will be trying to build up towards that Hex Soul as a win condition with the double items that being picked up for Czekolad. He's got himself the Liandry's Torment and, of course, Liandry's Anguish, excuse me, and the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. He is very much ahead of the curve, and honestly,
Melonik is just so big right now with 1,200 gold lead over Kerberos. And look, I get it. This is a comfort pick for Kerberos, but Darius isn't meta for a reason, all right? It just doesn't seem to do a lot. You can't snowball it.
To counter your point, true, but Kerb really does make Dusty kind of feel alive sometimes on these picks. Did it last week. Mordekaiser, I think he had a really strong Darius performance as well. And it does just seem to be how they're comfortable playing the game.
Teleport.
They don't have teleport, and that's a really big issue.
Yeah, the Darius is miles away, so you can go for a 4v5 straight off of this one here. No quickness used. They're going to try and back away. They wanted the fight on Game Ward, but they not quite have it yet. Never mind. Hop over the wall, and DenVoksne shall be looking at a grey screen now without your real only damage coming out here from the AD carry dead. You can try and go back towards this, but you do have mini Gnar. You got to be very careful here as Game Ward.
Yeah, you really do. I think there's still quite a few tools available to Dusty, and Kerberos can still pop off behind or not. All he needs to do is get the stacks going. Chance for next, Swain's in.
It's a flick back is good. They're going to get a flash in. They're going to try and kill the Taliyah. There's going to be the stopwatch used. You can see now Stend with the quickness. He's the only real engage. But Dusty get what they wanted. They get game reward off of the Baron. They keep themselves in this game. But with 25 seconds till the dragon spawns, you actually are down quite a few critical ultimates, and even summoners now. Ghost popped here by popped by Innaxe.
Yeah, Ghost popped. Oh, Melonik has the Mega Gnar up again, by the way, and could actually find something with a flash. But how big will the chase down come in?
Yeah, he's gonna look for him, but Stend's gonna be able to not quite keep himself alive. A flash from Melonik. Needs a heal, stay alive, and now without your engage, very difficult here for Dusty to get on the dragon, which means they're gonna have to concede it.
All right, I mean, Lyncas, he's over the wall though. Are they gonna flip it?
Can't.
The answer is no, you really can't. All right, we'll stop them from returning back home, but
bit late,
even Lyncas pulls the wall down early. All right, well, Dragon goes over to game ward. A bit of an awkward ending to that sequence, but again, Dusty, it almost feels like they're a bit frustrated with themselves, not able to find at least some trade back kills. Game ward again. I go back to my analogy of a really tall person putting their hand on a really short person on the head, just trying to swing, trying to make some kind of connection. Dusty right now just can't find one.
This is why we're seeing, you know, lots of priority onto the Sivir over the Aphelios. We talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
The Sivir just has a easier time in these fights to be able to go for something. It's why, you know, even though DenVoksne has got the Kraken Slayer and will do damage, the Gale Force is just so powerful for the Aphelios because it gets him into situations where he can maybe hit an item spike faster. He can maybe get an assassination going for himself, get in range for a Gravitum, and they can go from there. It's just, there's so much little picks at the moment for Dusty that their hard engage is just really lacking.
It's limited. It's really limited for sure. I think the obvious, you know, rebuttal is at least for Aphelios, the different gun combinations kind of change how he functions as a champion, but Sivir, in just the simplicity of what she does, just makes her so consistent.
Here we go.
Dusty.
They're going to try and jump him in. They found Innaxe. That's a huge shutdown. That's the pick composition we were talking about. They have to go for Baron. They have to try and get it now. But Melonik's almost going to get to Mega. He's going to try and get it out as soon as he gets back in here. He's already TP'd into the fight. It's a 5v4.
It's so risky.
This is it, Dusty. This is literally your entire reason to maybe get top one in this group, but they're not willing to flip it just yet. They can see the Mega. They know it's just not worth it right now. Never move into the Visions of Empire means that DenVoksne knows exactly where he is, and look at Melonik. He wants this. He's looking for someone to just be overextended as he gets himself up into Mega. DenVoksne's going to be left by himself. Oh, I was a little scared there for a second, but they don't commit.
They don't, and Backlund was also behind it, just in case. Everyone will make it back home for Dusty. Game ward though, Innaxe just caught off guard, had the flash, let's not forget, could have flashed over the wall, could have avoided the engage. Ended up dying, but the rest of the game ward, the threat of Mega Gnar plus Swain, and this is, you know, the thing. Sure, Sivir rather, dead, the main damage dealer, but so much AoE, so much space buying it to what those champions are there for. Inside of the Baron pit, it's just too damn risky to flip. And now, talking about the damage dealer, at the time he's just picked up the Infinity Edge. Innaxe is so strong. I think this is going to continue to be an issue for Dusty until, well, I don't even know really. I feel like it's going to be an issue for the entire game they're going to have to overcome. If they can consistently find picks onto Innaxe, great. But if it's not multiple members, right? If it's not perhaps kamilius at the same time, FLICKR is going to struggle to try and, you know, capitalize on the picks that they actually find for themselves.
That's an IE now. You're a 3-item Sivir right now. You have so much damage. And again, minion waves just mean absolutely nothing. And it's just a draft thing, I suppose, right now. I just feel like Dusty haven't really adapted themselves to the quote-unquote meta right now, but they might be able to get themselves a pick. Again, their single target CC is very, very powerful. Czekolad will have a Zhonya should he be able to get it off in time. There's a barrier from the spell book. He's looking to try and make this one work, and he does get it right at the correct time. You're not going to be able to try and burst him down just yet because he flashes over and the wild growth keeps him alive. And then all it cost was 2 ultimates there from the side of Dusty. So this is what they need to do. They need to continuously look to these side lane plays because they're not going to win 5v5s.
Exactly, but how long are they going to be able to do that for? The soul is going to be spawning up for Game Ward in a minute's time. And if Game Ward pick that one up in a fight, which right now, front to back, 5 versus 5, you would have them down to win. Will Dusty continue to be able to find these picks on the side lanes after that? Will a fight ensue where Game Ward get the soul and the Baron? This is the big thing. That could have been one of their few remaining opportunities to actually look for that style of play on the side lanes.
And this gold lead just continues to grow, continues to get bigger and badder and harder to deal with. And I will say the Swain doesn't do a huge amount of damage later on in the game. It's not built as a one-shot carry, but can still do a very annoying amount of survivability. That's the whole point of this, is to stay alive, stay relevant in the demonic ascension. With a 3-item Sivir, 20 seconds till Dragon spawns, you can see Dusty, they're trying to walk this over. They're trying to see if they can get some kind of a foothold to maybe find a pick onto Innaxe. So if they can kill Innaxe, they've got a shot.
Yeah, they really do. Maybe Stend can slip around into a flank angle here. W over the wall, but you can see Melonik doing a really good job of just marking this so they have an idea that the Rakan's there now.
They know he's there. They saw him there with the Gnar, but the Gnar now on a perfect flank himself. Those Hex gates coming in very nicely, but he is a little bit isolated. So you see the Taliyah just off to the side. Now we're going to have them try it off the Dragon and then start it back again. They're going to get the Mega Gnar and get almost all of his health bar down as well. So very bad start at the moment for Melonik in this fight, but the rest of Game Reward are very happy to go for this. They found the flank. It was the flank of Days, but is it going to be enough? Can they get the damage onto the relevant carry? That is the question. Akabane is almost dead. He goes into stasis just before he dies. A flash from Kerberos and a Q keeps him alive, but the Hex Soul has been secured. It started about Innaxe. It ends with Innaxe, and he's going to be able to continue to keep putting Game Ward on the map.
And it potentially looked so good for Dusty there. Oh, kamilius finds the pick, and they could maybe kill Melonik.
Oh my god, he bopped on his head. That was just disrespectful. The flash from Melonik, knowing that if he gets himself up to the Mega Gnar, he could have maybe gotten a kill, but no Hex Dragon yet. Oh, never mind. Why are you recalling there? He just about keeps himself alive, and the dunk down means that they're able to get the kill. Very nicely turned around there by Dusty. But again, the damage has been done. It's still a Hex Soul over the Game Reward.
Yeah, unfortunately, because the way that that fight ensued, we'll get the replay straight away. Thank you very much for being so swift on it. You'll notice, obviously, the pick starts to come in onto Melonik there. Unfortunately, they're just not able to burst him down entirely, but the damage is already done. And we spoke about this flank angle from Stend. He makes the massive wraparound. He finds it. The full chain CC flashed away from Innaxe, and Kerberos on the back line doing a lot to cause some disruption. But look at the polymorph as you can see Czekolad on the front line is just causing so much issue for the rest of Dusty to actually approach this fight. He zones out Lyncas, he zones out Backlund, and because of that, Innaxe is able to execute the Dragon without even being close to a 50-50. Backlund manages to find a charm, a lot of damage on to kamilius. Leandries gets him that kill, and Lyncas. Qs? What? Yeah, Qs. Qs.
Thought it was the bounce. Thought it was the bounce.
So, okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Dusty, they could get engaged on here, actually.
I mean, they are getting engaged upon. You can see just how much powerful. You get that lightning coming down, just slowing you down, constantly keeping you within arm's reach for something like a Swain, a Gnar. Just so good for you, let alone the Sivir. But this is it. Baron going down. I feel like Dusty, you got to send it. You got to full send it on this. You got to try it.
Kitchen sink, whole 9 yards. Look at Melonik, he's on full mega.
Here we go. Charm goes wide. Baron down to 5,000 HP. Still being taken off here, as we can see now Melonik with the mega off to the side. Doesn't have flash, so can't really get himself there. DenVoksne looking for a good Moonlight Vigil. And it's very good. There's going to be the wild growth, but again, Innaxe is so large, so in charge. They get the Baron, but They do not get anything else. The Baron traded for Gnar. You're actually going to have the wall stop the rest of Dusty from really pushing. And yes, you get a kill, but you've lost the Baron now as well. It's just not really coming together. Again, the engage just isn't available if it's not coming from the Rakan.
Exactly, man. It just feels so... It looks so good for Dusty in the fights, but they just can't dot the I's, cross the T's. They can't get past the 50-meter mark in the 100-meter sprints. And Game World are able to just keep them so far away so consistently. Melonik dies, yes, but he plays enough disruption so that the rest of the team can pick up the Baron. Now Elder spawns in 3 minutes time. They're going to have 2.5 minutes of Baron to just see what towers they can strip off the map, see if they can even maybe break the base. We'll say Dusty have a lot of wave clear from Lyncas, from Backlund. I think Game World may struggle to siege, but they can always try and just overforce. You've got the Swain, you've got the Gnar, you have these big bulky health bars which are very hard to burst down. Maybe that space can be bought for Innaxe to try and chunk these towers down.
A lot of if, buts, and maybes coming out here from a very hopped up on copium NLC caster. But we'll see what they're able to kind of go for here. Kerberos on this Darius is 2-0-1, has got himself up to 3.5 items, so doing fairly decently for himself. But like you mentioned, just very difficult to kind of make something work, and he's going to be caught out. He doesn't have flash. He might have to use the ghost, but he does have phase rush, so not quite forced into that yet. But pressure in the bot side means they're going to lose this tier 2 for sure. It's all about holding their base.
It is for now. Minute, 20 seconds left. Kerb steps a little far forward there, but I think he's going to be okay. Again, it's just about clearing the minions so they don't lose the base. Melonik.
Here we go. They're looking for it. On the hunt has been popped, but nobody moving forward just yet. They're just kind of using it because, again, it's a level 15 Innaxe. He's going to have that pretty much almost instantly. Nice shove back from the Taliyah means they're not going to be able to land the charm, but they've moved this amount of pressure from bot to mids. They're able to pick up that one, and woo, one boomerang blade and half your health bar goes. If this is your engage, like, Stend's entire job is go in and die. That's all he can do, because outside of that, there's nothing else for him to do.
Exactly. He's so squishy on the Rakan. That's the only engage that Dusty drafted right now. It feels like Game World may give them a bit of a bye here. The siege could end 30 seconds, but they have one more mid-wave, I think, to work with. Even then, how much will they really get done? Mega Gnar's there. This is the small window they can look to force. But how far do they really want to go, DenVoksne?
Oh, they want to go for it. They're going to pop the ghost into a flash, into a Zhonya's. Czekolad just creating space so that Game World can finish off this tower, crack open the base before their Baron buff ran out. 56 seconds until the Elder Dragon spawns, and everyone's going to look for a little bit of a reset to make this the final fight.
You have to spend the gold, see what you can get. I think Innaxe going towards a Guardian Angel 4th item.
No,
actually,
straight
BT
up
has the stopwatch. All right, fair enough. Honestly, you're that fed, do it. I think now, looking at potentially the final fight of the first half of the day, and Game World could be looking to secure first seed in the group. It looked so good, so clinical this game. They kept Dusty at arm's length. Dusty, it feels like they've been so close to greatness in a lot of these team fights, but they just can't find the cross.
Oh, here we go! The blink back is great, and Czekolad is dead, but the Gnar ult is better! This Sivir is just too damn big, but can Kerberos get going? You're gonna have the flash burnt by the Lulu, but they're gonna keep moving forward on things. The stopwatch is fantastic, just to keep Innaxe alive. DenVoksne does die, and now you're gonna have a Weaver's Wall. He betrays his mid laner! That was uncalled for. It ends up being now a 3-for-2 in favor of Game Reward, but they're gonna get the flank back, and that's the Lulu dead. This Taliyah is massive, as is this Darius. They can't take Elder.
What's going on, man? They're killing each other on the same team. And Game World as well. They lose the support. Are they just gonna give this up? Lyncas is on the map. They don't have a jungler. They don't.
Yeah, they can't.
This is such a big problem. They can't execute this.
Yeah, they thought there was maybe no vision. Maybe they were trying to, like, get a full reset because the Baron super minions are coming in the mid lane. They don't go for it, but you can see Innaxe, he wants this, but he doesn't have a stopwatch now. He doesn't have a flash.
Teleport's there for Gnar.
No, they can't go for it just yet.
They have to just back away for that.
They see the TP though. That TP is going to be spotted.
I mean, they see Lyncas back in base. That's the thing. He has no wall. But the problem is,
but they have Hex Gates.
He's Taliyah and he's got Hex Gates, so he's just here.
Here. They have a ward on the back of the pit. You've got Kerberos here as well. This is it. This is the flip. They're going to try and maybe get on top of the Gnar. They're not quite able to get the damage down here. But Innaxe gets caught up. Innaxe gets killed and shut down. And now Kerberos can bring down the axe. They're trying to make this this one where Kerberos has been shut down himself. It's a 1-for-1 as Game Ward look to try and fight this with the dragon on their back.
DenVoksne has Ahri in 3 seconds.
Ult. Just gonna look to see if he can maybe TP, and he's going for the end. He's going for the end. They know he's gonna try and go for this one here. They need to try and get him. They need to try and get on top of this dragon and get back to the base. This is all in for Game Ward. He's gonna look for it. He's in mini Gnar. DenVoksne doesn't go down, but he goes into stasis. You've lost Stend. You gain the Baron, but you're losing your base. The Ahri is going back as the Aphelios starts to pick up kills. You've got the Lulu left to try and delay, but they won't end the game. The Elder went to Dusty, and this game is not over yet.
Ashin, what's happening in this game, man? Game 1, they lose the dragon flip. DenVoksne, he's not going to be chased down. He's going to base in a sensible place. Melonik's not going to go trying to interrupt that base. But it's just such an amazing engage from Stend. Innaxe had no flash from the previous exchange. We had a reset on the fight, and Stend just pulls the trigger. As soon as Innaxe is gone, the DPS falls tremendously for Game 1. It's just space fires. It's just effectively a whole bunch of CC. And now with the Elder, they can go towards the Baron. The members of Game Ward, they're still dead for so long.
And you've no TPs. You've no TPs either. So this is a huge moment now for Dusty to really put down the hammer, to put down the Noxian guillotine, if you will. Maybe a little bit of a cheeky glitter lance not to be done. I will say it went down to about 490 HP, but Elder, Baron, you can barrel up mid lane, and you have a single tower taken by Dusty this game, and you're
I don't want to hear it, Ashin. They have to send it. They've got 60 seconds, a little bit more than that on the Elder. Oh, Kerberos.
Oh, he's behind them. He's gonna wait. He's gonna wait.
No,
no, he's not gonna bother waiting because he knows he's got the Reaper Ball coming out. They have no support, and that means that this is gonna be your huge part of your engage dead if you fall down here. There's an guillotine, enough to take him down, and that's huge now for the side of Dusty. They know there's no Mega Gnar, they know there's no split push, and they know they have no way of getting engaged upon.
And now they can send it fully down mid. Like you say, no ways to engage for Game Ward right now. They've had it in their hands for so long, but it's just one bad Elder Dragon fight. And right now, Dusty have the opportunity to get all of these towers, claw some of this gold back. Hell, I think with 30 seconds left, they might just try and look the best they can to end the game.
This wave is huge. You can't defend this right now. If Innaxe tries to walk forward, he will die. He can't actually clear this wave. And for the first time in this game, it's going to be Dusty with an advantage. Dusty looking for it. The charm lands, and that could just be it. Dusty looked like they weren't sure about how to do it, but it's down to Innaxe. If Innaxe can stay alive, that's going to be it.
He's
going to die. And that's 2 more kills going over to the Sivir. But now with these death timers, with the Hex Gates running, they're looking to try and make it work. The wind becomes lightning, but the Taliyah has found Innaxe. Oh my lord, he stays alive. The Taliyah and the Darius still going.
It's a seesaw, because now Game Ward, they can just run it down mid as well. I mean, you've got 50 seconds left on Backlund, 40 on DenVoksne. That's more than enough time to try and end. The wave clear is just not really there. Again, the engage tools aren't really that much of a thing. Maybe Lyncas can wall off the entrance. Yeah, okay. Try and buy some more time. Not much they can really do about it. They just have to sit there and wait. But it's not the craziest amount of time bought. 15 seconds left on DenVoksne. Stend's coming up in a second. It's 1 tower. I don't think they can defend. Game Ward should be here for it.
Game Ward should be here for it. Kerberos gets a nice knock up, and Czekolad's taking damage. He gets charmed and killed. There's one. The Nexus just falls. Innaxe is hitting the Nexus. He knows he can end the game. It was a valiant effort, but Game Ward wrap up first in Group D, and will be seeing themselves as a #1 seed into that playoff bracket.
What a chaotic end to that game. It felt like it was so quiet for so long because Game Ward just didn't want to interact with Dusty. They had their Sivir, they had their front-to-back teamfight composition, and they knew they kind of outscaled, but when it came down to that Elder fight, it became a bit of a flip. Innaxe had his flash blown by Kerberos on the initial engage. Everyone had to disengage, re-engage, and then Stend. We'd been speaking about him being the only form of hard engage for Dusty the whole game, and he finally finds his mark. And off that, it was this close to greatness for Dusty, this close to maybe forcing a tiebreaker towards the end of the day. But unfortunately, Game Ward will take them down. And for Game Ward, it's elation. It's first seed. It's knowing you're not going to have to deal with as strong an opponent in that knockout stage. For Dusty, still a lot to play for, of course, in terms of, getting that stage experience, but they're going to be feeling a little bit down about losing that game.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like Dusty had an opportunity to go for it, but unfortunately, Sivir, man. I mean, this is why I was talking about it. It's such a huge champion. It's why we see the Sivir Zeri. They're both pretty busted right now. The Aphelios just couldn't do enough to keep up. But I will say, kind of, yes, game ward, they lock in first. They're going to 100% be the #1 seed coming out from Group D here in the Amazonia Masters. But I mean, they showed very big weaknesses, kind of slow early games, or slow mid games, I should say, to try and close it out. I do believe we're going to have our interview ready. I believe we're talking to DenVoksne. We're going to have a losers interview, so I believe we're bringing him in. Hello, welcome. Of course, congratulations on making quarters. Unfortunate you guys can't contest for first, but you guys almost brought it back. That was close.
Yeah, it was a good game. Like, it was an absolute banger. It's one you like to play, but it's one you hate to lose. What can you do? We had to win this if we wanted to go first seed, and well, now we aren't, so sucks. But I think it was a decent game overall, and I think we could have played better in a few key situations that would have made us probably come out as the victors.
Yeah, definitely. It was tooth and nail, especially towards those last fights, right? But of course, I've had the pleasure, fortunately, of being able to watch you from near the start of your career, all the way back on Demise UKLC days. Last year, you were so close to making it with Tricked into knockouts. Now you have, what are the feelings with everything that comes with that? You finally made it past the group stage here on your second showing here at UM.
I'm happy. I think we did a decent job. I think the expectation before we joined the group stage was also to make it past. I think I knew we were good enough to do it. I think it sucks a bit that it wasn't Schalke were on their peak performance. But even though that happened, I think we still played pretty good in most of our games. There's still some stuff we need to figure out there. But I'm actually really happy we did it, and I think now it gets really spicy because one best of 5 against any team is one best of 5, and I think you can win, you can lose. It depends on the day, it depends on the prep, and you have 1 week for one opponent. I don't think anyone is safe first seed, second seed, whatever. So I think it's going to be a banger.
I love that you bring that up as well. I love the fact that you're kind of saying it's going to be a banger regardless. But I always have to ask this question because it's always fun and spicy. Who do you want to fight? Who do you think you have maybe the best shot, or even just the most banger games?
Man, it would be fun to meet X7 again. I don't think we would be too scared there. But other than that, I think most teams that are going to make it out are going to be good, obviously. And honestly, I think any team is going to be a banger. I'm not sure if there's any. I would also like to meet UOL, honestly. I think that would be interesting. But I guess they have to get first seed. Yeah. But I think those two are going to be bangers. And then obviously all the LFL teams, we're 0-2 right now against them, so that's not the best. But I think any LFL team would be a good series. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, if that last game's anything to go by, it's going to be a banger regardless. Of course, DenVoksne,
yeah.
Sorry that you lost the game. Congrats, though, that you were able to make it to the quarterfinals. We'll see you guys in the best of 5s, and the best of luck to you. And thank you again for the interview.
Thank you. See you.
All right. Well, we got it again. Great attitude. I like the idea that he almost came back in it and stuff like that. And it is going to be a tough one now for Dusty. I think that great for DenVoksne to kind of come into this one and just feel like, it's going to be a banger regardless. And again, they're proving it time and time again. It is going to be a banger.
No, they really are. And DenVoksne, anytime, we have him on interviews and things like that, always a really, positive mindset that you can tell that he brings onto the rift for his team. This is a frustrating game to lose, right? But you can still kind of see, whilst he might seem a little bit deflated, he's still very proud, very happy with his team. And they're going to be capable of, at the very least, throwing hands with some of these first seeds. Almost no doubt Dusty just still do look good at the end of the day. They might have not quite managed to meet the expectation that they perhaps set for themselves coming first in the group, regardless of how DenVoksne even put it, right? No Schalke at full strength. Regardless of that, I think they can look proud towards the quarterfinals.
And look, we obviously got to talk about the undefeated game ward right now. A couple of different things. They're saying, yes, they had a bit of a fun game, shall we say, against Machko. They definitely had some, moments in this one where maybe it got a little bit too dicey, a bit too close to comfort, shall we say, as Dusty went up that mid lane. But they got the result, and that's all they needed to get here. And they're still undefeated. They are still, you know, again, the first LFL team, I'm probably assuming, of many that's going to be qualifying for the Amazon E-Masters quarters.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I will say from this game is it a point of concern? You know, the game more sort of mid to late game, because that's 2 games today where we've seen, you know, relatively solid control of the early game leading into the sort of 20-25 minute mark, and whether or not they let, you know, the trigger slip or however you want to phrase it, that's 2 games back to back where they were against opponents that they should have closed out on, right? Yeah. Look at the gold graph. At the end of the day, Dusty lost whilst I think still technically holding a gold lead by the looks of the graph. So, you know, look at that 6.2 peak. Is this a point of concern for game? I think if we're starting to sort of be super critical in terms of a first seed, we'll have to see once they make it, of course, into the knockouts and who their opponent will be, yet to be seeded, of course. But still, very strong look, no matter how you put it, in the early game, right? They really do seem to know how to just kind of temper any kind of early aggression from the enemy team. They know how to kind of just say, all right, you're drafting super aggressive lanes. We'll just sit here in these neutralizing matchups and just use our priority really well to secure these neutrals and get ourselves to a point where we're comfortable to take these mid games.
Yeah, we're going to have a look at the confirmation, though, of our top 2 seeds from Group D. Again, Game Ward, we've said it now about 1,000,000 times. They are the first seed. No way Dusty can catch them, unfortunately. And, of course, for Schalke 04 Sports and Machko, it is going to be another split without a real kind of chance at the title. So, disappointment, I imagine, for both those squads. But, again, they want to try and go out with a bang. They still have 2 matches to play.
Yeah, they still do, and I'm sure they will both be very fun, right? Machko have to go up against Dusty. I'm sure that will be particularly interesting. And I think also the fact that, you know, Machko, there are scientists of the tournament. Once they do have to go up against Schalke 04, I wonder whether or not they'll give us something on the same level as Heimerdinger Shaco, because I think it will definitely be a very fun way to go out. But of course, this is still competitive experience that I'm sure these teams will cherish, whether or not there is anything to play for at the end of the game. So perhaps we'll kind of have to just wait and see, because teams are very weird with this. It's team by team. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, no, we can play for fun. Sometimes they'll say, no, play this one seriously. We want the practice. Yeah,
that's what it is. Well, we're going to throw it to a break. We're going to be done, though, for the day. When you return, you're going to have the tremendous trouble and the delightful duckling to bring you through our final 3 games.